And I realize that my own country, Canada, is not listed there, but they should be listed there as another country that's adopting accrual basis IPSASs. And they are doing it in different ways. But not only are federal, national governments doing this, but there are intelligent, conscientious civil servants and appointed elected officials at different levels of government saying, regardless of what my national institution, my national government might be doing, I think it's right for us. So we have seen IPSASs adopted by the city of Tokyo, for example, the state of Hesse in Germany, the state of Zurich in Switzerland, and a lot of organizations that are very public in their information and very public in their accounting, the United Nations, OECD, NATO, Interpol, European Commission. We can't get the European Commission to adopt IFRS for private companies without a carve-out. We can't get them to adopt ISOs yet, although Arnold might have some comments on that. But they themselves use international public sector accounting standards, which is a good thing. So why are we trying to talk about people being encouraged to adopt them? It shouldn't be a big surprise. Without proper accounting and transparency and accountability and good corporate governance, as your president mentioned, how do the citizens of a country learn what their government is doing for them? All of the representations to the meetings of the G20 over the last 3 years have included encouragement from IFAC that those governments should A, adopt IPSASs for their own accounting, and B, encourage others to do so. Now, I would be telling you an untruth if I said that the first thing we saw in the government's reports is we will adopt IPSASs. But we didn't honestly expect that we were going to get any of the G20 countries to get a letter from IFAC by itself and therefore change their internal accounting at a federal government level. But we do believe that with constant repetition of that message, it will happen. It will happen because those countries that are preparing these IPSAS financial statements, especially the ones on an accrual basis, are going to end up having citizens who will be happier to the extent that they really know where they are. Maybe not happier because they have the truth, but happier because they know just how much debt the government has. You will have all been following the news yesterday about the United Kingdom's budget package with its huge reductions, the biggest in living memories I heard quoted in the television yesterday. The real trouble with that is that it still doesn't account for some of the liabilities that the government took on when it took over building societies during the financial crisis. If another building society had taken over the Northern Rock Building Society in the UK, or another car company had taken over General Motors in the United States, the financial statements of the acquirer would have been significantly changed by full recognition of the liabilities that they were picking up on an accrual basis. In fact, the financial statements of the UK government and the financial statements of the US government don't recognize those liabilities. They recognize the cash payments that have been made today, but that's it. So will we get change? It might take 15 years before, in fact, some of the liabilities and the implications of decisions made 2 years ago become real to the taxpayers of those countries, at which point I suspect there will be a real concern that taxpayers say, why didn't we know about this sooner? Now, one of the interesting things is that most of the auditors general around the world who are auditing the financial statements of the governments, they know about it. And they actually end up saying, you can't do that. In fact, if you do that, we'll qualify your financial statements. And what happens? Our elected members of parliament around the world, no exception, say, oh, we can live with a qualified financial statement. We can live with a denial of opinion. That's not exactly what you'd hope to hear your politicians say, but it seems to be the way it is today. We hope we can make change. We hope that countries that do adopt public sector standards will help drive other countries to do the same thing. As I said, your government is very positive in using the cash basis of accounting, and I know that many of you involved at various levels with government entities and organizations and the Auditor General's Office and others. We encourage you to keep talking about this. And I think it's more relevant because of some of the work that you may all find is being asked of your profession here in this country in the years to come, if the discussions that your executive are having bear fruit. And I strongly believe that you have a very powerful executive who know exactly what they need to do for your country and as a sidebar for your profession. Governments around the world clearly need to raise their credibility again as a result of the terrible lack of trust and lack of credibility that's occurred over the last 2 years. We know how comfortable we are as a profession with acronyms. We've been using them all. Your president used them earlier. And I realize that I have put GFC up here for Global Financial Crisis. It's another one I'll test you with at the end of the day to see if you've remembered what GFC means. Let me change subjects now. My second topic is on the Code of Professional Ethics. I'm well aware that you as an institute are very much involved in, first of all, adopting the 2006 Code of Ethics for all members, and also that your Standards Committee is looking at the 2009 revisions, and I think has plans to try and adopt these changes by the end of this year, if I understand correctly. If you do adopt them by the end of this year, I give you my heartiest congratulations, because again, ICAB will be a leading institution in keeping up to date and keeping standards fresh and new. What became very clear to the Ethics Standards Board after they issued the code in 2006 is that the work that they'd done between 2003 and 2006 from revising that code was almost immediately overtaken by decisions by regulators and by independent authorities who set codes of ethics in some countries. You have to understand how lucky you are that in this country your institute sets your code for you. In many countries it is not the institute, it is the securities regulator or some other body like the securities regulator that sets the code of independence for auditors. And it became clear that the independence code in some countries was changing even after the 2006 code was released, because expectations of auditor independence were increasing. Arnold will tell you about the work that the Auditing Board has been doing on revising and rewriting its standards to make them clearer. And the Ethics Board picked up on the ideas that the IAASB had been working on and saying, all right, one of the challenges we've got is to rewrite our code to make it clearer. Now, in making it clearer, it consciously removed some areas of doubt. And those some areas of doubt by some institutes and some auditors and some audit firms had been selected or interpreted at the lowest level of expectation. And removing the level of doubt may well push that level of expectation higher. I don't think that's true for your country, because I think you have already interpreted the 2006 code quite strictly. But what we're trying to look at is a global picture here. And again, I applaud you and your executive for being leaders in keeping you absolutely at the cutting edge of the best expectations of independence of all auditors. The International Code is effective January the 1st, 2011. We gave every member body a couple of years from its publication in early 2009, just because we knew the complications that would be involved in assessing it, considering its implications for your jurisdiction, and passing it through whatever process is needed in your jurisdiction. As I said before, if you get this out by December this year, you will definitely be in the leading group of countries that have got the new code in place. So what's really different about it? Probably the most significant factor is that the code tried to define what is a public interest